Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be revisiting an AR pistol that I had built a while back, and I've already done an overview or review of it here on the channel. However, not long after I did that, I decided I want to go to a different direction with that particular AR pistol and reconfigure it. Now, with that being said, before I continue, I'd like to say that, or at least notify you guys, that I did upgrade camera equipment. I do have a mic now. This is going to be the first video with this camera. It is recording at 4K 24p at 100 megabytes a second, and I hope that I'll be able to transfer this and be able to do whatever little editing that I need. But I would love to get feedback. I didn't change anything else about how I do my recording, where I do it, the lighting, all that is exactly the same, just the equipment's different. I was using my phone before, now I have a dedicated camera, and I'd love to get feedback on that. That being said, let's jump right into it. Now I'm going to post a picture now. I'm going to pop up a picture showing what this AR pistol looked previously when I had completed it. Being that I have gone to a different direction, I wanted you to have that visual. I know you've probably seen it on the thumbnail, but here's a bigger picture of it, give you a visual of what it looked like if you don't remember, and then what it is now. So here we go. This is what it is now. This is my Mark 18 inspired clone build, if you want to call it that. So anyway, I wanted to go with the Mark 18 build. Now I had the pistol. I didn't have a 14.5 barrel with a pinned front sight post, or else I might have gone with a M4A1 Block 1 SOT mod build, or a SOT mod build, which basically looks like just a 14.5 barrel. And then that way I would have avoided going the NFA route and just pinned and welded the A2 flash hider. That being said, the reason why this took so damn long to put out is because I was waiting almost 6 months. Now today is October 28th. I submitted my paperwork April 29th, and I got it back on the 26th. So 2 days ago I got my tax stamp. I did do a Form 1 e-file, so I am technically manufacturing. I still have to take it to get engraved, which I have to make the phone call after this video, but this is what it became. And the reason why I did this is because I've been seeing it a lot, and I would get these nostalgic feeling of my time in the service when the quad rail and the Knights rail covers and the look of it had just been implemented. We're talking 05 is when we upgraded to the CCOs, which were Comp M2s, Aimpoint Comp M2s, and then we got the quad rails with this. Now at the time when I first got this, I was carrying a saw, but shortly after, some other poor schmuck got the saw, and I got an M4 carbine, and it was outfitted similar to this, aside from all the extra stuff, and the sighting system was different. And we didn't even have backup sights when we got it. We got rid of our charging handle, and we just ran the CCO. So, fine, but anyway, try to make this as quick as possible. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to go from tip to butt, go over all the components that are on it, and then I'll talk about how it's shot. As you can see, I have some ammo here on the table. I'll talk about that. I'll show you my groups, and then I have some video of me shooting. It doesn't show the target, but it shows me at the bench shooting. So let's jump right into it, right? So up front here is a standard A2 flash hider. There you go. Nothing spectacular, but honestly for 5.56 recoil is almost non-existent, so you don't really need this, or you don't really need anything other than this. But I prefer this one with the closed bottom. Now I feel like it drives the gun down just the slightest bit. You can overcome that with the way you handle the rifle, but I do like this rather than the bird cage all the way around. It's mounted to a Temp 5 phosphate coated barrel. It is chambered in 5.56 NATO with the M4 feed ramp. It has a 1-7 twist, and as you can see here, it's marked on the front here. There you go, 5.56 NATO, 1-7. Nice barrel, shoots pretty good. It is phosphated. It's not chrome line, so it's not true to spec. I'm not a true cloner. I just went in this particular route for personal reasons, which I already explained. Phosphate probably won't, it's going to hold up the least out of all the finishes, but you can just replace it. It's not a big deal. It's a barrel. You can find, they're all over the place. So when I shoot this one out, I'll just replace it. Going on back, it is your typical front sight post, the A2 front sight post, and it is F marked. Let's see if it shows it right there. There you go. And attached to that is a carbine length gas system. So you got a carbine gas tube going back, which is stainless steel. Up front here is a quad rail. Now this originally came with Magpul Mo furniture. I didn't really like it overall, and the more I had it, the more I disliked it. It was too slick, and I just didn't like the aesthetic of it. Was looking for a quad rail. Was going to go the Knight's Armament route and pick up a Riz or a Raz, whichever one I could find. However, at that time, they didn't have them anywhere, and if they did, the prices were astronomical, and I wasn't paying that type of pricing, you know, $300-400 for a quad rail. That's insane. So I did some looking around. I thought about going with Midwest Industries, but that was still kind of pricey. And then I found this right here. Now this is a Monstrum Tactical quad rail, and this is made out of 6061 aluminum, and they have T markings, and it's also hard coat anodized. So there's the T markings there. You can see how nice that looks. I always associated Monstrum with lower end stuff. I don't know much about Monstrum to begin with. I just know that they're kind of at the bottom of the barrel as far as what they put out in the gun community. That being said, this quad rail is a phenomenal quad rail. One, it is heavy duty. When you get it in the package, you can feel the heft. Like, it is definitely chunky and hefty. But that being said, the other thing that I really enjoy is how it mounts up. So the way that it mounts up is it's typical clamshell like the Riz or the Raz, except rather than utilizing that it goes into this channel up front, that plate, and then is locked down by this delta ring. This one is actually got 4 screws at the 4 corners that go down, and I believe they have helicoils on the inside, so it's not, you're not threading directly into the aluminum, which is also a big upgrade. You just torque these down to spec with some Loctite. I use blue Loctite, and it is about as solid as you can expect from anything. Like, there's absolutely no movement. Love this rail. You can see you have north and south positions here on the top and bottom rail sections, the Picatinny rail sections, and even up front here, there's holes drilled out, and that allows for heat to dissipate. And also you have right there all those windows all around. That's going to allow heat to dissipate and cool air to get in to keep the barrel cool. So very nice rail, very sturdy, and for the $25 or $23.95 that I paid for it, absolute steal. Definitely recommend it if you're looking for something that's not clone correct but clone inspired. Attached to the rail, you have the Knight's Armament rail covers. I couldn't find anything that mimicked the aesthetic of the rail covers, so I had to dish out the money for these. They came in this old school, how they would be when you were in a unit, or if you served and you got this, you know it came with these. There's 6 of them in here. It was $75 for that thing. I found it on eBay. Also on eBay I found, which is also attached to the quad rail, is the flashlight, which is made by Night Evolution. It is an M300B 400 lumen light. It was $42.54. This is basically M300 clone. And then the pressure pad, which I got separately, was $17.17, I think, on eBay. It's also the same company, Night Evolution. It's an M600 clone pressure pad. Never had a problem with it. It works. I've never had any flickering, any shut off, nothing, even when firing it. When it has a brand new battery in it, it's pretty bright. I still have the original battery in it, so who knows how long that battery sat with this, but I definitely need to go ahead and replace it. But with a new battery, it's definitely 400 lumens, and at night, especially if you're clearing structures, indoor structures, this is really, really bright. And I love the small package of it, so it keeps everything kind of condensed. Really good setup. Pressure pad is really nice. It's positive enough that you have to force it. I don't know if you can see that lighting up. So that's pretty bright there. You got to press down, but it's got enough resistance that you're not going to have any NDs. And especially if you're working at night, light NDs are absolutely no. So this is a 2-position, so you have your momentary. So as long as you're pressing it, you're gonna get your light working. As soon as you let go, it turns off. And then up front here, you have your click style on, off. So for the money, you're talking what? $70. You have a nice little light setup. I wouldn't say it's duty ready, or I wouldn't use it duty style, but for a truck gun or indoors, it seems to work fine from my experience. So you could take that for what that is. And down below here is a foregrip. Now, I'm not typically a fan of foregrips. I feel like they're just more of an impediment than they are as a helpful tool, especially if you're trying to get as low as possible, or you're working around barricades or vehicles. It impedes your ability to get as low as possible on that barricade or vehicle, whatever the case may be. But I did have this laying around, so I threw it on, and based on my information, tango down grips were actually used in combat as a foregrip. I did not like the Knight's Armament broomstick handle. I hated it. It was big as hell. It sucked. I did not like it one bit. So I never really used it, but I don't mind this. And for my style of shooting, I shoot like this. I don't like this, so works just fine. Plus, it gives me an extra area to store batteries or a little tube of oil. Moving on back, all that is attached to this upper receiver here. The upper receiver is part of that kit. So that PSA 10.5 carbine kit that I bought comes with literally everything aside from the lower receiver. So upper parts, lower parts, upper receiver, barrel, extension, SBA3, which is not on here because I did SBR this. But so standard mil spec forged upper receiver. It is hard coat anodized type 3, and this is the A3 style. So absolutely fine. Mil spec is just mil spec. Upper receivers, so as long as they're done per mil spec, they're going to be just fine for anything you need. Inside it is a mil spec BCG, so it's phosphate coated BCG, excuse me. That is most likely going to be a Toolcraft, because PSA works very closely with Toolcraft, and they provide a lot of that stuff for them. So this is most likely going to be a Toolcraft, which means that if it is a Toolcraft, this is an 8620 bolt carrier, and then the bolt, which they do state is a Carpenter 158 bolt. So full on, the staking is very good. It does have a chrome lined carrier key and carrier, so very nice. Will it hold up over time? I don't know. I haven't heard any bad things, except for a handful of cases where Toolcraft bolts, after 3,000 or 4,000 rounds, will split right where the cam pin resides. So if that's something that worries you, I would buy an extra bolt from a reputable company, and then you should be fine as far as the carrier is concerned. But this should work just fine. And to round out the upper receiver, you got your typical forward assist per mil spec, and then the typical charging handle. Now, I don't care. I used to like the Veltor charging handles and all these other companies. Unless you're running an LVPL or an optic or something like that, there's really no need for the bigger charging handles, because it's not needed. And quite frankly, when you're running and gunning, you run the risk of having it get caught on your gear, which I have experienced that. And then what happens is you pull your bolt out of battery, and then you get the deadly click sound when you go to fire. And then, you know, if you're not familiar with training and you instinctively don't tap rack and then proceed to shoot, you know, that split second in a life or death situation can be the reason why you stop breathing. So this is just fine. One thing that I've taken away from my time training, and I see no reason to really go any other way unless you're running an optic. And if you need to go any other way, you can get like a PRI, which is basically the same thing, except it's got a shelf. It's their gas busting charging handle if you're going to run suppressed. Which, if you're going to run this suppressed, I would definitely upgrade the BCG to a bootleg, because this is severely overgassed. But I digress. Let's move on. As far as sighting systems go, I have here as an EOTech. There's an XPS 2-0. That is the one with the 65, I think it's 65 MOA ring with a 1 MOA center dot. And then it's non night vision compatible, and it doesn't have the QD mount attached. But honestly, for what I want, this is absolutely fine. Now I could have went again the 8-point route and got a 8-point Pro for like this cheaper than this, and it would have just been fine, because the 8-point Pro is again essentially just a comp M2. But this is absolutely fine. And if I wanted to go clone correct, I could have went with an EOTech 553. I think it is that the 553 is the one that has a stubby extension out in front, and it's the battery one. I forget what batteries it took, but they were in line with the recoil impulse. And what would happen is your springs and components would wear out, or contacts would come apart. You would have issues where you'd get flickering under fire, or they would just shut off completely. So I didn't want that, and I didn't care about going true clone correct, especially since those are very much more expensive than this. But if you wanted to go clone correct and not go that route, then you would go the EXPS 3-0, which is basically this, except the buttons are on the side. It is night vision compatible, and it has the QD mount. But this is just going to be fine. I picked that up for $500 on eBay. It was like new condition, slightly used, and when I got it, it definitely was. I mean, I typically don't buy used optics, but after reading the description and checking, I mean, there was tons of pictures showing this up close. I took the chance, and I do not regret it. And to round out the sighting system, I went old school. Now you can use the ModTech flip up sight, which I may end up switching to in the future. But for the block ones, they ran these A2 rear sight blocks that were basically the charging handles cut off. And after a while, LMT started doing that. So if you find one with the LMT label on this side here, that is going to be clone correct. Except they're very expensive and very hard to find. And this rear sight block I got from mcsgearup.com, and it ran me $25, $24.99. Works very well. The only thing is that the peep sight, not the O2, but the peep sight, the hole is very small. Smaller than it would typically be on a charging handle or a typical A2 charging handle. So I just took a drill and drilled it out the slightest bit to open it up, and it made all the difference in the world. That being said, I don't use it on that. I use it on the O2 setting because I'm looking through and I am utilizing my sighting system. And if my sighting system goes down, then I can just use that in close quarter situations, and it's going to be absolutely fine. So, very nice system. No need to really spend any extra money on that. If I do go with the ModTech, which you get on Amazon right now for like $90, it would be just aesthetically or to clean up my sight picture, which honestly, when you're looking through and focusing on your target or on your sight, this kind of just becomes a a shadow almost. Doesn't really impede your vision at all. Moving on is your lower receiver. Now this lower receiver is their PSA stripped M4A1 receiver, so it's marked on this side. On the left side, you'll see here, there you go, property of U.S. government, M4A1 carbine marked. I don't really care that people see my stuff because they know that it's mine. You know, if somebody's stupid enough to try to engrave that on a lower and commit a crime, then so be it. But I don't think that that's a big deal. People, I think, are just overly worried about the possibilities, and I'm not really worried about that, to be completely honest with you. But it is marked property of U.S. government M4A1 carbine, so trying to keep in line with that clone-ish aesthetic look. The lower did come, or the build kit did come with everything for the lower, so your standard mag release, standard bolt release, bolt stop, you know, your safety selector switch, and the horrible mil-spec trigger. This is really bad. This is probably about 6.5, 7 pounds. Super gritty, super stagey, but it's mil-spec, and I wanted to keep it mil-spec, so there it is. The only problem that I'm having with this particular, I don't know if it's a lower or if it's the pins that are out of spec, but after firing it, this pin, lower pin, trigger pin, will start to walk out. I do have a set of trigger pins that are Aero Precision, so I'm going to swap them out and see if that makes a difference. If not, I may have to go with anti-rotation pins, and then that'll just kind of take away from it, but that'll be the route that I would have to go. Other than that, the lower receiver seems to be really fine. The fit and finish is really fine. Really good lockup. There's barely any movement between the upper and lower receiver. I'll show you right here. See that little bit of movement, but that's actually better than your typical government issued M4. It did come with a mag pull grip. I did change it out for the A2, and I gotta be completely honest with you, I never really noticed it. When I got out of the service and I actually started getting back into firearms, I never got this. I always went mag pull or some other route. Personally, my absolute favorite are the BCM gunfighter grips. Love those grips. I love the angle of it, the fit and feel of it. But honestly, when I got my hands on an original A2 grip, I wasn't mad, man. To be honest, it's pretty comfortable. It doesn't bother me. The grip angle is a little bit excessive, but typically when I shoot, I don't really grip the pistol grip a whole lot. It's just more like of a hand rest, and then I control recoil mitigation. Everything's with my support hand. So, completely honest, I have a renewed love, or a newfound love, for the A2 grips. They just feel comfortable in the hand. I think this would be probably the perfect grip if they changed the grip angle more inline. But the thickness of it, the ergonomic of it is pretty good aside from the grip angle. But again, it's more of a resting shell for me than anything else. And then moving back, here is the extension. Is a 6-position extension. It comes with a carbine buffer and a carbine spring, but I changed it out with an H2 because it is very overgassed. The H2 helps a little bit, but I may end up replacing that carbine spring with a Sprinko and then seeing what happens. And then to round it out, after getting my tax stamp back a couple days ago, this is a SOP mod stock. This is their Gen 1, so it doesn't have the QD mounts. Originally they were LMT stocks, and then SOP mod started putting them out. But this is my Mark 18 inspired clone, and I absolutely love it. Now, today I went out and shot, and I put some Wolf steel case. So here's your Wolf steel case, some Fiocchi. This is their XM193 stuff. Here's some PMC ammunition, is their X-Tac. It's XM193 stuff. I got Australian Outback. Sorry, there you go. 223 is 55 grain Sierra Blitzkrieg, or Blitz King, and then this is a Sierra 223 Sierra Match King 69 grain stuff, and it all shot pretty good. So let me show you my groups. And I'll show you my groups, and then I'll show you me shooting it if I can roll that in. But here we go. This is your Wolf steel case. So this is at 50 yards. All these groups are at 50 yards. So this is 1 7/8 of an inch. I'd use no magnification. This is strictly with the EOTech, just bright enough that I can see the center dot, and I can barely make out the red dot, red center at 50 yards. But this is 1 7/8, so at 100 yards, it's 3 3/4 inches. This is 1 9/16, so at 100 yards, this is going to be 3 1/8 for Fiocchi 55 grain stuff. Down here is PMC X-Tac. This was an 1 7/16 at 50, so you're looking at 2 7/8 at 100 yards with a holographic. And then for your Australian Outback 55 grain Sierra Blitz King, that was an 1 3/8, so at 100 yards you're looking at 2 3/4. Yeah, 1 3/8, so 2 3/4. And then for the 69 grain stuff, that was at 50 yards. That was 3/4 of an inch, and at 100 yards you're looking at 1.5 inches, which I can probably tighten up if I run a magnified optic. But yeah, it seems to be. Oops, drop my mic. It seems to be a pretty good rifle, pretty accurate. Sorry, I keep dropping my damn mic. This clip is kind of weak, but very nice. I do love it. Very happy. It sucks that it took as long as it did to get that tax stamp back for a Form 1, considering at the time I put it in, guys were getting it back in 4 to 6 weeks, and it took me almost exactly 6 months to get my tax stamp back. So I can only imagine how long it's going to be for my suppressor, which I submitted that probably 8 days after I did this one. So hopefully when that comes back, you know, I may end up swapping out that muzzle device so that I can run this suppressed. And if I do, then I'll have no choice but to upgrade the bolt carrier group to a bootleg bolt carrier group so that I can adjust it suppressor wise. But let me know what you think about my my Mark 18 inspired clone build. You know, was I stupid for doing it? I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are. I really enjoy it. My son he's glued to it. My oldest, he loves this thing. He loves the way it looks, and I'm pretty sure that he wants one now, of this one in particular. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Let me know especially what you think about the filming of this. I'll go ahead and roll in that other filming of me shooting it while I'm talking about how it shoots and stuff like that. And just, I'd like to know. Oh, and by the way, when I was shooting, I was using this. You guys might think this is an Atlas bipod, but it's not an Atlas bipod. This is a knockoff from some US company, but it's sold through Delta Team Tactical, and I think I picked this up for like 40 bucks, and quite frankly it works pretty damn good. There are some modifications you'll have to make on it to get this to not unscrew when you're swiveling. I wish there was an actual locking feature because I don't typically use swivel, but it does have a pan and swivel feature, and if you really want to use this in a serious capacity, you'd have to get some O-rings to stick in there. Check out G2 Universe, or G2 Gunverse, I think is his channel's name. He actually does a really good video on how to fix this with a couple dollars. But yeah, go ahead and leave your thoughts down in the comments below. If you have any questions, you know that I always get back to you guys. Lately, for whatever reason, I've been getting emails notifying me of comments, but then when I go into the comment section, I can't find a comment and it won't let me respond to the comment. So if that happens and I don't respond, please repost it down below, because I don't know what's going on. You know, YouTube has been in their BS for the last few years, and I'm not a big channel whatsoever, so you know, I'm definitely going to be affected more so than some of the bigger channels. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. got some good things coming.